top Western-backed conference on Syria meets on Wednesday to boost support for the country's new opposition alliance, the National Coalition. It comes after Washington formally recognized them as the legitimate representative of the Syrian people. But as RT's Gaynet Chakan reports now, the world needs to keep its eyes open to who's actually fighting on the ground.
They call themselves martyrs.
All those you see around you, the fighters you see, are living martyrs, and the living martyr has already sacrificed his soul for this country.
Syrian rebels say they will stop at nothing to defeat Assad. Some of them are so proud of their deeds that they post them on the web, including the execution of prisoners or having a child behead a man who was presumably an Assad supporter. Atrocities are committed on all fronts during Syria's bloody civil war. According to many accounts on the ground, it's Islamist groups that do most of the fighting on behalf of the rebels. Dr. Tawfiq Hamid was a member of a jihadist organization 25 years ago. He later became a vocal opponent of radical Islam.
The jihadists have no problem to behead people alive. You deal with people like bin Laden and the radicals of Al-Qaeda who have no hesitation to use any form of weapon to really control any place with their religious beliefs and ideology.
Representatives of opposition fighters came together in Turkey last Friday to form a unified command, with the support of the so-called Friends of Syria, including the Gulf states, the US, the UK, and France. One of the delegates at the meeting says 2/3 of the Islamist-dominated anti-Assad groups have ties to the Muslim Brotherhood and Salafists.
People here in Washington don't seem to understand that if you don't like the government in Cairo, or if you do like the government in Cairo, I guess I should say, then you will love the government that comes to power in Damascus, because you will see a Sunni Muslim Islamist government, a Muslim Brotherhood style government that is absolutely intolerant, fundamentally hostile to the West.
Washington has failed to officially denounce the many suicide bombings perpetrated by the rebels in Syria, preferring to focus on the wrongs committed by the Assad regime alone. The U.S. is also ramping up the rhetoric about the possibility of the Assad government using chemical weapons against civilians, something that Damascus says would be suicidal. On the other hand, many rebels are not averse to the idea of suicide in the name of what they call holy war. Militants have recently taken control of a toxic chemical plant in the country's second city of Aleppo. A video was uploaded to YouTube showing them testing chemical weapons on rabbits. We could not independently verify the authenticity of the footage.
You will die like these two rabbits.
Despite supporting the anti-Assad forces, the Obama administration also recognizes that there are radical groups among the opposition. In an attempt to distance themselves from extremists, Washington has designated one, Al-Nusra, a terrorist organization. It is thought to be one of the most aggressive and ruthless groups currently involved in the conflict. It's seen as more of a symbolic move on Washington's part, as many other rebel fighters in Syria welcome the efforts of those designated terrorists. This is a demonstration of support for al-Nusra in Syria, with people heard chanting, "We are students of Osama."
In its own words, the Assad government is fighting terrorists. That battle has claimed thousands of innocent lives. The measures the Syrian government resorted to have been widely criticized. But does that crisis mean the world should keep their eyes shut at who's actually fighting for power in Syria now? In Washington, I'm Gaynet Chakan.
And Dr. Con Hallinan, contributing editor at Foreign Policy in Focus, believes U.S. recognition of the rebel coalition will only push Syria deeper into crisis.
What it does is it opens the door now for much more direct intervention in the civil war. It will mean that heavy weapons will come in. Potentially even, I think you could end up with a no-fly zone. It's really pretty much an open declaration of war against the Assad regime. One of the things that I think is difficult is trying to get really accurate reporting. It seems as if the Assad regime has sort of its back against the wall, and yet at the same time, it doesn't seem as if the opposition could really hold on to territory. I mean, this could be a long-running thing. This could go on for a couple of months. I think the U.S. recognition here will accelerate the pressure on the Assad regime. This is just a terrible mess at this point, and I think if it ends without a political resolution, that's the direction it's heading in a military solution to it. I think the ripples from this are going to go all over the Middle East, and they're going to be there for quite some time.